English has already survived invasions, Vikings, and centuries of change. Welcome back to part 2, 1066. One battle, and the English language would never be the same again. William crushed King Harold at Hastings and crowned himself King of England. He didn't speak English. Neither did his court. For 300 years, power spoke French. The peasants who raised the animals kept the English names: cow, pig, sheep, calf. But once that meat reached a lord's table, it became French: beef, pork, mutton, veal. That's why English still has two words for almost everything: one earthy, one elegant. Over 3 centuries, roughly 10,000 French words poured into the language. Courts, government, law nearly swallowed whole. Jury, verdict, parliament, contract. The Germanic skeleton survived, but the vocabulary had just exploded outward. By the late 1300s, this new hybrid tongue was ready for greatness. The Canterbury Tales, not in French, not in Latin, but in English. A bold and radical choice. His English still trips modern tongues, strange spellings, vanished sounds. But for the first time, we can read it and recognize almost every word. Then something strange happened, something linguists still argue about today. Between 1400 and 1700, English vowels shifted in a slow chain reaction. Bite used to sound like beat. House used to sound like hoose. Terrible timing, because Caxton had just brought the printing press to England. Spelling froze in ink just as pronunciation kept sliding, which is why though, through, and tough still refused to rhyme. By the late 1500s, English had steadied into something we'd finally recognize, and one man stretched it further than anyone before him: William Shakespeare. He didn't just use English, he invented pieces of it. Eyeball, bedroom, lonely. Scholars think he coined somewhere between 1 and 2,000 new words. A few decades later, in 1611, the King James Bible arrived, one unified English text, meant to be read aloud in every church in the land. Between Shakespeare's stage and that pulpit, modern English had finally arrived. By the 1700s, English was rich and wildly, chaotically inconsistent. In 1755, Samuel Johnson published his Dictionary of the English Language, over 40,000 words. Defined nearly alone in a cramped London attic decades later, in the newly independent United States, Noah Webster wrote his own color instead of color, center instead of center. A small act of independence that split English in two, forever. Then English left home. British ships carried it across every ocean on Earth. Every place it landed changed it. In North America, colonists borrowed moose, raccoon, squash. In India, it blended with Hindi and Urdu into bungalow, shampoo, pajamas, words that later traveled all the way back into British English itself. In the Caribbean and West Africa, English fused with local languages into entirely new creoles, languages in their own right, with their own grammar and rhythm and logic. By the time the empire covered a quarter of the globe, English wasn't one language anymore, it was dozens. The Industrial Revolution handed English thousands of new words: railway, telephone, engine. The telegraph let English news cross oceans in minutes instead of weeks. Today, roughly 1.5 billion people speak it, but only about 400 million as a native tongue. For most of its speakers now, English is a second language, a shared tool owned by no one nation. So when you speak English today, you're not speaking one language. English was never designed. It was built by accident, by war, by trade, by poets. And it's still being built every day by you. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.